Yesterday, Jordan Waters from Duke, number 3 running back in the transfer portal, commits to NC State. I talked about it here on the show as if it were a big get because it is. Right, 12 touchdowns last year. One of the best running backs in the transfer portal goes to NC State, and that makes their transfer portal haul pretty darn impressive. If you listen to 247 Sports, they got the number 1 tight end out of the portal, Justin Joby from Connecticut. They got the number 3 running back, Jordan Waters from Duke, the number 4 center, Zeke Correll from Notre Dame, the number 16 quarterback, Grayson McCall from Coastal Carolina, and a number 24 wide receiver, Wesley Grimes from Wake Forest. It's a ton of infused talent. Some of the rankings have them in the top 5 in the country in transfer portal haul. So that's what I said. And on Twitter, somebody responded saying, wait a second. I thought what NC State did was develop their players. So why are they taking everybody out of the portal if what they do best is develop? Now they're just taking guys that someone else developed. So what is their identity? And it was a good question. NC State has always hung their hat on being great developers. It was one of the all-time kind of retorts to UNC, right? Their rival. UNC would sign another 4-star, another 5-star recruit, and State would go, we're going to beat you anyway. Right? We're going to take our 3 stars or lower 4 stars, and we're going to develop them into better players, and we're going to beat you anyway, which they've been doing pretty consistently as of late. And that's always been their thing, right? You get the stars, we get the diamonds in the rough, the players we like, the players that fit our blue-collar attitude, and we develop them into much better players. NC State has always done that. So by going to the portal, are they passing on their strength? Are they changing their identity? Are they saying, we can't do that anymore? Are they saying, that's not our thing anymore? We're going to be the portal people. We're going to live in the portal. Feels like a very sci-fi movie. The portal people. Here's the thing. And I thought about this for a while because it is one of, like, by the way, I love it when everybody interacts with me on Twitter at Donnelly Sports. When you're in the YouTube comments, I really like when somebody brings something up that I hadn't thought of. And I hadn't thought of that yet. But the more I thought of it, the more I kind of came back to this. I think State would love to continue to hang their hat on development. I think most, like, true coaches would love to hang their hat on development. I think they would love to take in their freshmen and develop them, and I think they would love for all of that. And that's how they would build their program. But it's unrealistic. In 2023, if you ignore the portal, you are simply at too big of a disadvantage, regardless of how good you are at developing. Right? Because even if you're the best kind of in-house, you develop, you keep everybody's spirits up, you have a great weight room, a great strength and conditioning program, great speed program, you're great at showing guys how to watch their own film and get better. Even if you're great at all of that, it still takes time, right? So if there's a hole in your roster, oh gosh, we don't have a fill in the blank. We don't have a tight end for this year. We don't have enough corners for this year. Whatever it is, you can't microwave development, right? You might have to put somebody in who's not ready. By the way, they might develop over time, right? A lot of times reps help, but if you're trying to win right now, that might not work. That might not be how things get down. So what do you have to do? You have to go to the portal. Do you know what I'm excited for?
What's that?
I'm excited for when programs like State, right, that do kind of hang their hat on development. You're going to see teams that do become portal people, right? They're just going to be teams, and you're going to see them, right? Like USC at quarterback, meaning Southern Cal. They're just every year going to be comfortable going into the portal. They're going to be teams that just rebuild their roster every year. Colorado appears to be that way. It's going to happen. But if you're a team like State and you hang your hat on development, I'm looking forward to when we all look at it and we see a gap. We go like, oh, gosh, they don't have any running backs. And State doesn't bring in a running back because they know this sophomore they have that has gotten almost no run has been dominant in practice and has gotten a billion times better since spring ball, and they're just going to wait for everybody's eyes to open. That's what I'm looking forward to. How do you actually feel about the players you're developing? Because right now, you just can't pass on good players. If you think you can upgrade at a position in the portal, even if that somebody was developed by another team, right? If they were developed by Connecticut or Notre Dame or Coastal or Wake or Duke, if they were developed somewhere else, fine. Name of the game is win. You can't really have it both ways. And sometimes I think fans do demand it both ways, right? You want to win like the programs that sell out to get the best players on their roster, but you want to do it in a way where you're the blue-collar developers, and it's like that's simply not realistic. Again, I keep using the transfer portal and thinking of it like one and done in the NBA or in college basketball. When one and done first hit, there were coaches that were like, "We're just not going to embrace it. We want guys that are going to be here for 4 years. One and done, it's too unsettling." But then as other teams embraced one and done, you're kind of like, "Well, we're not getting any of the NBA guys if we don't embrace one and done, and we're just going to get beat." So you have to find the middle ground, right? We want a couple of juniors, but we also want 2 or 3 super stud freshmen, right? We want a couple of guys that are going to be here 4 years, but we're not going to pass on one of the top 5 recruits in the country just because they plan on being in the NBA in 10 months. So what State has to do is keep their development culture in mind for the players they get out of high school. And then supplement that with the transfer portal. If you can have, if you get a low 4-star out of high school and you develop them into a 5-star talent, and you hit the portal and get a 5-star talent, you have 2 5-star talents. That's better than one. It's not necessarily an either-or game here, but it does feel a bit different. And it's actually one of the things that, I always look forward to. Right? Let me think of an example. Like, I'm upset we never got to see this. Looking at college basketball, and so many of the teams around here are just they're blue bloods, right? It's never like, oh, I wonder what Duke could do with more resources. Oh, what is North Carolina going to do now that they have more brand recognition? Like, that's never the case because they're maxed out and all of that. But do you remember when Brad Stevens was the coach at Butler?
Yes.
And it was the Gordon Haywards and that was his squad. Once they went to a Final Four and lost to Duke, ironically, with the half-court heave from Gordon Hayward, I was excited to see what Brad Stevens could do when given top-line talent. Because once you put Hayward in the NBA, that makes it okay for other top-line talent to go there. So if you're excited by what NC State and Dave Doeren could do when maybe they were forced to find diamonds in the rough, don't you kind of want to see what they can do when they have an avenue to bring in the top-line talent that they're bringing in this offseason? Like, oh, wow, they were really good when they had to develop 3 stars and low 4 stars into a competitive squad. Now they get to do that and add in a 2-year starter from Notre Dame on the offensive line. And add in a guy with 88 touchdowns and 4 interceptions over the last 5 seasons at Coastal Carolina. Maybe it'll take the roof off. Maybe it won't. Maybe they'll be upset they did it, but you got to take that swing. You just have to. It's 2023. You can't get passed by.